You're listening to Exploring Anime with Friends, a JMO for Real podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and all major podcasting networks. I'm your host, JMO! And today's friend is my wife and co-host. How's it going today, Sarah?
Hi, everyone. It's going great today.
Excellent. You excited for today's episode of Exploring Anime with Friends?
I am.
Awesome. Today we will be exploring the world of Alya Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian, a rom-com with a focus on student politics, released in July of 2024. First, we will look at our rom-com couple, Alya and Masachika. Then we will look at the main villain of the series, Yuki. Afterwards, we will meet some of the other members of the student council, and then we will go into the big conflict that sets the tone in the first season. And if you like what you hear today, remember to check us out on social media. Like, subscribe, and follow. Okay, so who are we going to talk about first? We going to talk about the slacker or the ice princess?
Let's do the ice princess first.
The ice princess first?
Yeah.
Take it away, Sarah. Talk to us about Alya, or Elisa Cujo.
All right, so Alya is a nickname that Masachika gave her, but that's what he calls her, so that's what I'm going to call her.
It's a childhood nickname.
It's a childhood nickname, okay.
Yeah, so, and he overheard it one time, and, he actually asked for the right to call her by that name. Remember at the school festival? It was done in a flashback in the fourth or the fifth episode.
Okay, that's why I wasn't thinking about it.
Yep.
All right, so Alya, the ice queen, ice princess?
Ice princess.
The ice princess.
Which she takes offense to because she doesn't like being called a princess. She's okay with being called icy.
Right? So, yeah, just like it sounds like she's kind of cold to most people. To Masachika, she's more cordial too. But even then, she kind of gives him the cold shoulder. But to set the tone of who Alya is, in the very first episode, in the very beginning, a second-year student approaches her, and he's like, we need to, get together sometime, hang out sometime. And she's like, no. And he's like, well, why don't we just exchange numbers? And she's like, I'm not interested in you. And she starts to walk away, and then she's like, oh, by the way, your necklace is against school policy. And that's your first meeting of Alya. And I think that really just sets the tone.
Yeah, but, I think there's really more to explore about her beyond that, because the reason why she's so cold is because most people don't put in the hard work that she puts in.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to us about Alya's work ethic.
Just like you said, she puts in the work. If you're doing a group project with her, she's the workhorse. She's the one you want on your project, but she does not like it if you're slacking off either.
I mean, she's not the one you want on your project if you want any sort of control, because
that's fair.
At a certain point in time, she was too overbearing and too controlling, and eventually it's one of those things where it could have turned out to be a vice and a problem, but as a result of a certain someone coming into her life, it actually helps mold her a little. Before we get into too much of that, one of the things that is reiterated throughout the series and really kind of emphasized by her sister Masha as a whole is that there is no one that works harder than Alya. She is trying really hard at everything, but the biggest thing about her, the thing that sets her up at a disadvantage, why a lot of people don't get to know her at first, is because she just transferred to the school. She is a student in a Japanese high-end school. It's definitely some sort of elite school, right?
I think so,
we definitely got that impression. We don't know exactly what it is. It's an elite private high school, and they just came from Russia. Talk to us a little bit about her talking in Russian and a little bit about the background as far as that goes.
So especially when dealing with Masachika, or if she's suddenly just frazzled by something, the Russian comes out. I mean, anyone that has learned a second language efficiently and is in the other culture, more than likely you've experienced that, where you just suddenly jump back to your mother language, your dominant language. And Alya will just do that. Now, I 100% believe that when she does it with Masachika, it's 100% intentional.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
there's
100%.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Because every time she says something to him in Russian, she's flirting with him.
Well, she's not.
Because she knows he doesn't know Russian.
She's not. Right? She's not saying it to him. It's more like she's kind of saying it under her breath, but intentionally saying it loud enough so he can hear her.
Oh, there's definitely times where she's giving him the doe eyes when she says it.
Oh, yeah, no, she does definitely make direct eye contact sometimes.
So yeah, some of the hijinks there, but obviously where the greater part of the hijinks comes from is that Alya doesn't know that Masachika knows Russian.
He admits to not being perfect, but like he knows conversational Russian.
And he definitely does not tell her either. So
no, that would be hilarious though.
There's so many mixed feelings because, she treats him very cold and everything, and she's constantly correcting him because Masachika, he's a slacker.
He is a big slacker, big time slacker.
But at the same time, he has endeared himself to her. But so she'll correct him sternly when they're talking, when they're both talking Japanese. But then at the same time, she'll say something cute and flirtatious with him in Russian, not realizing that he can understand it.
And then he'll be like, "What did you say?" And she'll be like, "I said you're a moron." I'm just like, "Oh my gosh."
So the dynamic is set pretty early in the season between the relationship with them. And Masachika is a prodigy who is a slacker now.
Yeah.
Going a little into the darkness of his past.
We're not given a whole lot, but basically it's one of those situations where he was just trying to make someone proud, and no matter how good he did, it just was never good enough.
Yeah.
That's the basics of it. And he's doing, like, when he was younger, he was doing some crazy good things, like playing piano concerts and things like that, and even then wasn't good enough.
Yeah, it didn't live up to his family's expectations, so he was kind of disowned by his family, which is kind of terrible.
Kind of wild, yeah.
Because he was a child prodigy, and the standards were set really high, and it's just, he didn't quite live up to them. So he realized that if he's going to get disowned and get their disapproval, then he might as well embrace the role. So he's kind of been the slacker. And part of the great thing about this first season is watching how Alya becomes a more personable person as a result of Masachika, and how Masachika becomes a more motivated person as a result of Alya. I'm not trying to say their relationship is perfect, because there's definitely some exhibition of like some level of toxic trait with both of them. But everyone has their flaws. Like, I think that's one of the things I like about these two characters.
Flaws are
their
nice
flaws
to see.
are definitely on display,
Yeah.
but you can see where they're both legitimately making each other better.
Yes.
Anything to comment off of that, Sarah?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. Masachika steps up because Alya needs him for something, and Alya kind of like half steps back, and they complement each other very well.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we mentioned the flashback before. The relationship really starts to begin between the two of them. You see this in episode 4 or 5 when a flashback happens. Alya is completely trying to take over and do everything for a student festival that is coming up, and she's so overwhelmed with the work, and Masachika's like, hey, calm down. You don't have to do it by yourself. These guys owed me a favor, so I'm calling them in.
Yeah.
And he's like, and this arts and crafts club, they're going to help out. And because it's a bunch of pretty girls in the arts and crafts club, I know these guys who are just wanting to show off for pretty girls, they're going to come along. And he's explaining how he's manipulating everything to work to the advantage of the class as a whole. And he's like, you don't have to shoulder it all yourself. Mm-hmm. And as a result of it, she's thanking him. They're sitting at the student festival. She's already turned down every other guy to dance with. And then some guys come up and start to badger her, and he sweeps her away to the dance floor.
Yeah.
The only guy
so
who could ever get her onto the dance floor. And that's the night that she decides to allow him to call him by that nickname, Alya.
Yeah.
Because he asked. Anything else before we go into one of the greatest anime villains of all time?
I'm good at just jumping in if you want to.
Okay, talk to us about Yuki Suo, one of the greatest, most evil anime villains of all time. And I'm not even joking. Like, I'm just saying that because I have very strong feelings about this character. But let's start with Sarah on this
I was gonna
one.
say, if you don't have some kind of strong feeling about Yuki by the end of the season, you're not watching it well enough, because she's like a bag of cats.
Ooh, a bag of cats.
Yeah. I mean, she's clever. First things, we'll do the complimentary stuff first.
Oh yeah.
She's smart. She knows what she's doing. She knows
but not
exactly
just smart,
what she's doing.
Devious and manipulative.
Yes, devious and manipulative. Definitely. She's. I don't even know if I want to touch on this one.
No, just say anything. I mean, we have to reveal what happens in episode 2 and 5 or 6. Like.
So what's not given to the student body is that Masachika and Yuki are brother and sister. The audience doesn't quite know what happened, except we assumed that Masachike was disowned because he eventually became a slacker. But Yuki likes Masachike a lot. A lot.
Too much.
Too much. I'm not going to go into it besides saying that. So
there are some awkward scenes.
There's some incredibly awkward scenes.
And she passes them off as childhood friends. She doesn't even pass them off as brother and sister, so people don't know.
No one knows.
After the first encounter with her, which was pretty professional because she's on the student council, like Alya, and we'll go into that a little bit more. But later that night, Masachika comes back to his place to see Yuki there, and she's reading a manga, hoping that the brother and the sister go, have some fun in the manga.
Oh my gosh.
She is one of those people.
Yes.
She is one of those incest is best people. So, but I don't really think that's a true statement with her. But she definitely pretends and plays the part and acts the part.
Only when they're alone, though, not when there's anyone around. Because for whatever reason, they don't want anyone to know their siblings, which, again, that wasn't revealed why that was.
Yeah, again, I'm not 100% sure. You think that half of Masachika's problems would be solved by just revealing that Yuki's his younger sister.
Oh, right?
But it's kind of funny. No matter how terrible it is through the first half of the season, you got the impression that they actually genuinely have a decent brother-sister bond.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that she just crosses way too many boundaries. And she's always kind of trying to put him in awkward situations. And one of the awkward situations she kind of puts him in, she's out shopping with him one day, and Alya runs into them. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely a fun exchange at the chili restaurant, at a extra spicy chili restaurant.
Poor Alya.
So getting back to what she is, her true colors really come forth in the second half of the season.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Talk to us about later half of the season, Yuki, where it's no longer about jokes and making her brother awkward. It is like full reveal of what she is.
So a lot of what she does, and they have Yuki rather has like a maidservant. What are we calling her?
Yeah, I mean she's a servant. Yeah,
she's a servant in their grade, and so there's a lot of side talk between the two of them. And a lot of their conversations, it's her and I think Ayano.
Ayano, yes.
A lot of their side conversations are like, Yuki will just be this devious person about whatever's going on. And Yuki will be like, final boss vibes. And Ayano will just very calmly be like, yes, final boss vibes.
Yeah, no, she fully embraces the role. Like, she breaks the fourth wall a couple of times.
She does.
She refers to things that aren't quite fourth wall breaking, but are definitely like referring to quote unquote real life as like a story or whatnot. But she is 100% caught up on the fact that she is the final boss.
She is their final boss. And eventually Ayano's like, wait, isn't the final boss supposed to be beaten at the end? And Yuki just kind of gets annoyed at her for that, but nothing else was really
she's got to like, that's just in manga. Like,
yeah.
She's like, I'm a villain and I'm going to win in real life because it's not a scripted story. Haha. Like,
yeah, right.
Yet she breaks the fourth wall, so she knows it is a scripted story. Like, I don't know. There's some inconsistencies there. She has some sort of like broken tune force. That's what she's got.
The fourth wall breaking is probably just the authors being cute about it.
But yeah, no, she, in the second half of the season, she really just kind of shows off her willingness to win at any cost. Mm-hmm. She doesn't care who she has to tear down. But she does it in such a way to where it's like, oh, but we're still friends, right?
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like,
no, it's the most toxic thing ever.
Yeah, like, as I'm watching her, when it's hard to fully explain, other than as you're watching her, it's like, oh my goodness, that's like chilling, like Lex Luthor, Kingpin sort of vibes. And really, it's just one of those things where everything she does is cold and calculated and designed to get her on top. Mm-hmm. And she, frankly, doesn't care because as far as she's concerned, she can just smile and apologize and people are going to accept her back the way she is afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's what I think truly makes her despicable.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
So that, and, she's also really weird, too. But
yeah.
Anything you want to say about Ayano or Yuki before we go on to meeting the rest of the cast?
I mean, I'm pretty good. Ayano's just a quiet, calm individual. It's a nice counterbalance to Yuki's crazy when Yuki gets kind of weird.
Fiercely loyal to Yuki.
Fiercely
loyal to Masachika, too.
No, yeah.
But first loyalty is to Yuki.
Uh-huh.
But if you like what you're hearing so far, be sure to check this out for yourself on Crunchyroll, home to over 1,000 anime and simulcast, both subbed and dubbed. And remember, check us out on social media. Like, subscribe, and follow. Now, we mentioned that Alya and Yuki are part of the student council.
Yes.
But neither one of them is the president or the vice president at this point in time. Introduce us to the president and the vice president. Then talk about how all of them together try to pull Masachika into the student council.
All right, so we don't like see them all the time because obviously this is focused a little more on Alya and Masachike, but the president is Toya, and Toya's a pretty cool dude. He's a calming demeanor, but he's an outgoing guy.
Talk to about a 0 to hero rise. I feel like that needs to be mentioned because that definitely is something that plays a role in one of the episodes in a key victory that they're able to score.
So basically, Toya starts out as kind of not great. We're not
loser.
sure. Yeah, we're not really showing that much.
Private
but like
school standards, he's a loser.
His grades weren't good. He wasn't athletic. He wasn't that social. But as these things sometimes happen, there was a girl he liked, and he decided to try to change himself for the better, just to try to get closer to this girl. So basically, the school newspaper would like pick on him a little bit and like basically outline the fact that he wasn't great. But then this glow up happens and he's more social and his grades are going up and he's more athletic than what he was at the beginning of the year. And now they're like, hey, this guy turned it around. Maybe he could turn the school around.
Yeah, and there's just evidence. Like, you're seeing one article after another comparing him from the beginning to the end. It was a complete 0 to hero, a complete glow up. And it was really kind of an inspirational story that leads to something important later on.
Yeah, definitely.
And the girl that he liked, he chose to be his running mate.
Aww.
Talk to us a little bit about her.
Chisaki's really nice.
And she's also very klutzy, too. So.
She is. It's one of those, she means well.
But she is a very kind individual and a very motivated individual. And she really does bring out the best in him.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk a little bit about Masha now.
So Masha is Alya's older sister, and she's also part of the student body council.
Yeah, Alya is the treasurer. She is the secretary?
Yes.
Yeah, she's the secretary. She's organized.
Yep. And that's a good way just to say it. She's organized. She's outgoing. She's nice.
Comes across as a ditz, but then when you see her in work, you're like, oh my goodness, that ditz thing is just for show.
Yeah.
Because she 100% knows what she's doing at any given point in time. Mm-hmm. She is also very invested in her sister overall, and she kind of presents a little bit of a romantic rival for like one episode, but then she realizes how adorable Masachika and Alya are together, so she's kind of very much rooting for them the whole time.
Oh, definitely.
And she, the president, Alya, and Yuki are all trying to get Masachika to join the student council. Talk to us a little bit about that journey.
I mean, it all starts with they sit down and have lunch together with Masachika and his friends. And Yuki's like, so, you going to join the student council? And he's like, no, I'm not going to join the student council. And it's like every one of the people in the student council all ask him, and eventually Alya does too. And he's just like, come on, not you too.
And the reasoning behind why they always wanted him to be a part of it is because him and Yuki were vice president and president during middle school. He was her VP. So it was one of those things where it felt like it was going to be natural. And as they kept on asking and as he kept on helping, there was a moment where he actually realized he helped Alya solve a dispute between two of the sports clubs. And as a result of it, he was like, yeah, no, I need to be a part of this. And I need to make sure that Alya beats Yuki in the presidential race for next year. So he joins the student council because he realizes he can make a difference, but also because he realizes that he sees something in Alya that really makes him believe, and he wants to help her beat the juggernaut that is Yuki.
Yep.
So Masachika declares himself Alya's running mate. Yuki brings in Ayano, and this is where the clash really starts. It starts about mid-season, and it just gets more fierce as it goes along. Is there anything that you want to say about the battle and maybe show some of the specific manipulations of Yuki or how Alya and Masachika really become a good team? Let's actually start there. Let's talk about how Alya and Masachika become a really good team by working together.
I mean, as we've mentioned, they just gel together. Like, they're a good fit.
They complement each other's strengths and they complement each other's weaknesses. And as they're working together, they're realizing that he's presenting the plan on where they really at. He's putting it like his strategic mind is pointing out, we are here and Yuki is way far ahead of us. He's like, I know you don't want to do dirty stuff. I know you don't want to do dirty tactics because that's not who you are. She is really a kind spirit. And he's like, so these are my suggestions how we maintain our integrity while still chipping away at hers.
The fact that he went out of his way to try to figure out something that would both work and align with the way Alya felt on a moral level was really cool. I did like that a lot.
There was a lot of respect for the boundaries, and as a result, they become closer, and they eventually go out on a date.
They do!
For his birthday. Do you want to do a quick talk about that really quick?
I mean, it was really cute. Yeah, they go out on a date for his birthday because no one celebrates his birthday. Anyone with a heart would be like, oh my gosh, we have to celebrate your birthday.
And she gets him couples mugs.
Yep.
And they share a fork for a
they
few moments
do.
in there. So.
She feeds him?
Yeah, she feeds him and then eats off of it afterwards. So
it's indirect kissing.
Yes, it's indirect kissing. A big thing was made out of it, and everyone in the restaurant is kind of like, whoa.
Oh my gosh, the back. If you watch it, you have to watch the restaurant people in the background.
We call this a rom-com for a reason because honestly, should be like a com-rom because there was definitely a lot more comedy than there was romance.
Yes, that's true.
The antics are very high in the series as a whole. And speaking of the antics, let's just talk about some of the really devious stuff that Yuki does because we didn't go into enough of it, but she really shows the final boss vibes. Talk to us about that day.
Right before the big final speech, because there's been a couple little speeches along the way. Masashika got sick. I mean, it happens. You're in school, you're around a bunch of kids, everyone's spreading germs, got sick. So Yuki, in a olive branch friendship moment, says to Alya that, Masachika really likes this very specific brand of medicine, because she found out that Alya was going to go over and visit, and Alya goes over, she makes him she
manipulates Alya into going to visit.
Oh gosh, it's worse than that. Yeah, you're right.
Manipulates her into bringing a medication that will knock Masachika out.
But Alya doesn't know this. She's going over and she made him borscht. Homemade borscht. I've never had borscht. It's one of those things I want to try. A homemade soup for when you're not feeling well is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And yeah, she gives him this medicine because Yuki said it would help. And yeah, it knocked him out for most of the day. And I think he took some the night before.
Yep.
And it knocked him out most of the next day to the point where he's still not feeling well. And now he's groggy from the medicine and he's just running to get to the school because there's a big speech.
Yeah, well, it's not a speech. It's Alya has been invited onto the student council as a radio show that airs at lunchtime.
That's right. I'm sorry. I got confused.
Yuki calls Alya onto it, and she just obliterates Alya.
It's terrible because at the beginning there was some kind of conflict that just Yuki starts with an apology for, and she's just so sweet and sincere about it. And she's like, "I'm running for class president because blah 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 reason." Why are you running for class president?
And then she sends it to the air. So first,
and then 2 seconds later, they're on the air.
She creates tension with Alya, and then later on, she apologizes to Alya, and she's like, sometimes it brings out the worst in me because I'm doing this because I lost my brother when I was younger, and now I have to fill the shoes." Alya is too caring and too personable a person. She was floored, and she could not talk at all on the show. It
was like not like a podcast, but like a podcast kind of thing. And it was very, very basic answers, and it just kind of gutted her that she knew Yuki had a solid reason for wanting to do this thing, and Alya couldn't think of a reason, didn't have enough time to think of a reason because suddenly they were thrown on air, and she just couldn't answer the questions.
And we're going to leave you there with that because obviously there's plenty more antics, and there's a big debate at the end. And we're not going to go into it too much. We will let you know that there is no new student council president by the end of the first season. They definitely set it up for the second season or the third season.
But not in a bad way.
But so there is a cliffhanger. But again, it's not in a bad way.
There are bad cliffhangers and there are okay cliffhangers. This was an okay one.
Yes, it definitely was. It's definitely interesting to watch for multiple levels. Honestly, Yuki is one of the villains that I feel like I've enjoyed watching more than a lot of the anime villains that I've watched over the course of this last year. Honestly, I think she's right up there for an anime villain, in my opinion. I know that sounds stupid and crazy.
It sounds funny because of the style of anime.
I really kind of like the couple of Masachika and Alya. They feel a little more real. As far as the storyline, it was a little slow developing, but at the same time, I thought that there was a good amount of conflict. Honestly, I'm not a big rom-com guy, but this was an enjoyable rom-com anime. How about you, Sarah?
I am a big rom-com person, and I thought it was very good. The weirdness from Yuki was kind of jarring for that one episode that you know about, that you're thinking of. But other than that, it was great. I liked the pacing. I thought it was okay. And I'm a sucker for a ship that needs to sail. What can I say?
Once again, we explored our rom-com couple, Alya and Masachika. Then we went into the final boss vibes with Yuki. Afterwards, we met some of the other members of the student council and broke down some of the presidential race that is upcoming in the next year. We hope you enjoyed exploring the world of Alya Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian, as we did, and consider watching this anime. So if you like what you heard today, make sure you listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you stream your podcast. Listen to all of our J-Mill for Real podcasts. And hit us up on social media, like, subscribe, and follow. Once again, this was Exploring Anime with Friends. Let's explore together. And now for a word from our sponsors. Binbuster. Live from YouTube, it's Tuesday night, the call sign of the Binbuster YouTube channel. Once you hear this, you know you're about to embark on a journey through pop culture, movies, comics, and more. Buckle up and enjoy the ride every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. EST. Poppin' Cinema with Joe Mama and friends. Showcasing the power of cinema, join Joe Mama as he introduces different friends each week to a movie they have not seen before, popping their cinematic cherry as they talk about the movie they just watched every Tuesday at midnight.